Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to episode 74 of the Nindie Nation podcast. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. This week we'll be taking a quick look at all of the new release indie games hitting the eShop from July 18th through the 24th, and when we're done there, we'll head over to the deals section and find some of the best deals currently available, so no matter what you're looking for, we'll find something to keep your Joy-Cons synced. New episodes post to podcast feeds and the Nindie Nation YouTube channel every Monday, and if you're looking for a bit deeper dive into some of our favorite indie games, check out the Let's Plays and Nindies We Love series, also available on our YouTube channel. Nindie Nation is brought to you by the Nintendo Village, your home for everything Nintendo. So when you're all nindied out, head on over to thenintendovillage.com for their daily articles, reviews, shows, and even more great podcasts. Your feedback really helps make Nindie Nation better, so please let us know what you're picking up as well as what you think could make this show better by leaving a comment on YouTube or chatting it up with us on Twitter at Nindie Nation. And stick around toward the end of the episode because I've got a couple ideas for a new segment and would really appreciate your thoughts. With all of that out of the way, it's time to get into the games. While there are quite a few exciting new releases this week, there's always a few games that slip between the cracks for reasons I'll never really understand. And we call those games our neglected Nindies, and like to pin the moniker Nindie No-Nos on the pesky shovelware that sneaks onto the eShop as well. Honestly, this week there's a pretty blurry line between which category these games all fall into, but we'll do our best. Here are the 10 neglected Nindies released since episode 73. Spy Hack released by Forever Entertainment for $9, and, well, it's a game about being a spy who hacks. Go figure. It plays out in this top-down point-and-click mode, which is unique, but it's hard to tell if it's actually a good thing, but it kinda looks like a board game. Desktop volleyball is just like the other cheap arcade sports that Satbox has released, which use this cel-shaded voxel style. That means those 3D oversized pixels. If you're watching the video, you know what I mean. It's like Minecraft's visual style, but more 3D and HD. Desktop volleyball is $7.43, which is a super weird launch price, and I'm willing to bet it'll be much cheaper later, so if you're really jonesing for a volleyball game about tiny pixel people who play volleyball on desktop...
Tales from the Dragon Mountain 2, The Lair
is quite the righteous name, but this $10 point-and-click adventure by Katia Games and Ocean Media is gonna be a tough call for anyone except the diehard fans of the
Tales from the Dragon Mountain
cinematic universe. Speaking of sequels, Qbyte released Unlock the King 2, which is their next weekly 49-cent chill puzzle game based on chess, and I don't know how much more I can say about these games. I can't really say I recommend any of what we just discussed, and yet now it's time to get into the Nindie No-Nos. Remember, citizens, these are the indie games that, hey, maybe you want to get it for yourself, that's fine, no judgment. I own a couple of Nindie No-Nos myself, but under no circumstances can I put the Nindie Nation seal of approval on any of these next titles. Coming to us from Jet Dogs is Travel Mosaics 4 Adventures in Rio, and this is apparently the fourth game in that Picross-like series where they take all of the characters from Zootopia and various DreamWorks movies and then change them up just a little bit, slap them all over the screenshots in the description, and sell it for $8. Gmode, who has me searching for a good G-Unit joke every time I see their name, has released Sudoku Relax 5 Full Bloom for $5. While Gmode puts the word relax in their game's title, they stick a big-ass timer in your face while you're working through the puzzle, and that just doesn't seem relaxing to me at all. This next one, it's great though. You know what really instills confidence in your game? Charging $60 at launch, but immediately discounting it by half. You know, so the suckers feel like they're getting a good deal before they actually get to read the reviews. Super Club Tennis by Max Interactive Studio looks like a free-to-play mobile tennis game that retains the free-to-play mechanics, but without the microtransactions. It's got tennis, but a bunch of other stuff too. None of it really looks good though. $30. Oh, and with any shovelware party, Sabec is bringing the shovels, and this week they have golf for $10. I really hope you're seeing pictures or footage of this. It looks like it should be a hilariously bad physics game, but nope, just crappy golf. Sabec states,
Golf is play as you want endless game, which will give you hours of fun anytime, anywhere.
And when Sabec brings the shovels, Digital Game Group is right behind with the dirt, and this week it is Slots of Poker at Ace's Casino, and it is an $8 slot machine. They actually advertise that you get 25,000 free coins upon downloading the game, as if they didn't even change the description from the App Store or wherever this atrocity currently resides. And finally, Mega Party, a Too Tough Adventure, is a $30 minigame collection based around what I just learned is some family-friendly French children's show called Too Tough. The games are based around this kid being in school, and why am I still talking about this? Wowzers. Hey, this is why you listen, right? You just saved a bunch of money. My pick of the week for neglected Nindies is moving on to the new releases for July 18th through the 24th. And boy do we start things off on July 21st with a bang. By the way, little peek behind the curtains, I actually wrote and recorded the whole episode and am coming back very last minute to record comments about this specific game because I've spent all weekend playing it. After being founded in 2011, Tribute Games released some excellent titles, including Mercenary Kings and Flint Hook. The team has been hard at work on Panzer Paladin since 2017, and if you followed me on Twitter over the weekend, this is the game that I am absolutely in love with. Just like some of the best indie games combine aspects of multiple classic games, Panzer Paladin takes a Mega Man-style format. You pick from multiple stages, fight the boss, get a weapon, but then the gameplay feels a lot more like Metal Storm from the NES, or even Blaster Master in some parts. If none of that helps, I'll lay it out like this. You play as a girl with a whip who spends most of the game piloting a mech. You side-scroll your way through beautiful pixel art levels and pick up weapons along your way. The weapons break and each have special one-use abilities that can offer stat boosts, healing, or other effects that can really give you an edge in battle. Once you defeat one of the 15 bosses, you get a really good weapon, and it's up to you if you use swords, clubs, knives, axes, or staves. You can carry a huge assortment of weapons, or you can trade in the various weapons you're not using anymore for some upgrades to your mech. The gameplay is super solid and feels just as good as Shovel Knight or The Messenger. Everything else, the story, music, etc., it's all fantastic as well. Panzer Paladin has exceeded all of my expectations, and once I finish it, I'll be reviewing it for the Nintendo Village and making a video that I'll share on both YouTube channels. Panzer Paladin is $20 and includes enough variety in level design and additional modes to easily justify 3 or more playthroughs, of which each one is probably about a dozen hours in length. I'm completely smitten by Panzer Paladin's approach to the retro formula and find it hard to believe they could have refined this game any further. Consider that my complete and confident recommendation. Be on the lookout for final thoughts when my review posts sometime next week. Panzer Paladin is, hands down, the Nindie Nation pick of the week. And Amanita Design is another studio who has been plugging away at games for quite a while now. They make mostly point-and-click adventure games, or at least titles with a lot of those elements, and Amanita is actually responsible for one of the few point-and-click adventures that won me over with their 2009 release Mechanarium. It's for this reason that I'm really excited to see their next release on July 22nd with Creeks for $19.99. If you've seen Mechanarium before, you should have an idea of what to expect. A somewhat dark, storybook-like world with eye-catching hand-drawn art, plenty of brain-teasing puzzles, and what looks like a pleasantly bizarre, almost Tim Burton-esque story to experience. Aircraft Evolution by Sometimes You is a shameless ripoff of Luftrausers, the side-scrolling airplane combat game from Vlambeer, which has unfortunately still not made its way to the Switch. Don't buy Aircraft Evolution by Sometimes You for $7.99, but do look into Luftrausers by Vlambeer. Maybe we should start a tweet campaign at Vlambeer or their co-founder Rami Ismail. Luftrausers is a sweet game, and it was on PlayStation Plus a couple years ago, so some of you may very well have it already. Try it out if so. Cyber Complex is releasing on July 22nd by Polarity Flow for $14.99. It's explained as an action puzzle game and presented in a striking art style that kind of looks like a modern Virtual Boy game, but in a good way. What is there looks pretty interesting, but overall the vague descriptions and images that are provided, they just don't help explain how this game actually works, let alone a total lack of a trailer to watch. Infinitely generated levels of course helps add value, but there's just not enough information to guess if Cyber Complex is worth $15. Maybe we'll revisit this one after some reviews have popped and see if it goes on sale. Now, I have not been hands-on with this next release, but if you've seen the trailers and you're not too grossed out by them, you're probably also pretty excited about Carrion, the game by Phobia Game Studio and Devolver Digital that kicks off this week's big Thursday drop. The layout is mostly a side-scrolling exploration platformer, I guess, but Carrion is built around playing as this science experiment gone horribly wrong. You're this gigantic blob of people, guts, and tentacles, and a lot of mouths. The whole point is to escape from the underground research facility that has, I guess, put you in this state. And to do that, you'll have to find a bunch of upgrades which are acquired by consuming people. It's billed as a horror game, and while I'm sure it does bring the spookies, it just doesn't seem like the horror genre would be the best fit here because of the company that it would keep. I feel like Carrion is for fans of the overall modern retro type of game, and that casts a much wider net. Carrion, like most Devolver Digital games, launches at a premium price, $20 in this case. In my experience, Devolver games do usually start getting a 50% discount whenever there's a big eShop sale. In fact, it's pretty consistent across their entire catalog, so I would eventually expect the same here. However, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy it at launch, because I've also found that if you're really looking forward to a Devolver game, they almost always deliver and leave you satisfied with your purchase, regardless of the price. Had it not been for Panzer Paladin, Carrion would be this week's pick of the week, so definitely check it out for yourself. Germs by Bug Bomb Studio releases for $9.99 also on July 23rd, and Germs is a multiplayer party battle game. Is there a specific genre I'm missing for games like this? You know, there's some kind of point system, it's kind of like a sport, and it plays like a party minigame, but it's just one game, so it's much deeper? Anyways, that's what Germs is, and it takes place inside of some dude's body because, as the name suggests, you and your friends are germs, and you fight to, I guess, take over the body or something, or just make them sick. I don't know. There are a lot of different modes for gameplay, a bunch of different characters, and it says there's a single player mode, but without online multiplayer, I can't imagine it's a very easy game to get what you want out of it. Game about germs infecting a body is built around a local-only multiplayer mode, but we can't get together on the couch because there's a global pandemic and most social gatherings are strongly advised against. Isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
It's like rain on your wedding.
Something else that isn't really new per se, but very much appreciated, is that the team at Jackbox Games has finally decided to start spinning off some of their most popular titles from the Jackbox Party Packs themselves. On July 23rd, you can get your hands on an individual copy of Fibbage XL or Quiplash for $9.99 each. Now, these are two of the quintessential Jackbox games if you've never played any of them. Both are perfect for any kind of social gathering, and it's more of a card game with a TV than it is a video game, because it requires no experience with video game systems, and every participant actually uses their phone to play the game. Both games are built around coming up with funny answers to trick the rest of the group, and either of these games are a perfect place to start with Jackbox. All of the Jackbox games do go on sale frequently though, so throw these on your wish list, and when you see them for maybe $5 or less, go for it. Also on the 23rd is a Nindie newcomer as Kero brings their first big title to the Switch, and it's Sushi Reversey. So it's Reversey, or Reversey, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, with an admittedly somewhat humorous theme around sushi, but everything about this game is pretty much right there in the title. Well, except the price. It's $10. It'd be really efficient if they called it $10 Sushi Reversey. Beyond Fun Studio is another Nindie newcomer, and Aeolus Tournament is the studio's first release on any platform. Wish you guys the best. Aeolus Tournament is a competitive party game for up to 8 players that seems to be based around a sport where each character has an air cannon that lets them control gusts of wind. It is certainly charming, and there's a good variety of game types and environments, plus it has online multiplayer, so for $15 it seems worth the price of admission, but I do think a demo would probably do this game wonders. Oh man, if you thought finding words was fun on paper, have you ever tried finding words on a Nintendo Switch? No? What if I told you there were thematic versions of the words that you would search for, huh? Epic Word Search Collection 2 is the hotly anticipated follow-up to what is almost certainly the most critically acclaimed word search collection released by Lightwood Games for the Nintendo Switch. Still not sold? What if I told you that this Epic Word Search Collection wasn't just one Epic Word Search Collection, but 4, huh? How much would you pay now? That's right, citizens. With the Epic Word Search Collection 2, you get Epic America Word Search. I'd like to see that one. Epic Monster Word Search. Epic Rock Word Search, which I think is like rock music, rock musicians, not like words about rocks. And Epic Summer Word Search. I know, it's okay. This is a lot to take in. What with how many epic words there are to search, but this collection, it bundles in all 4 epic word search titles for only $7.99. And let me tell you, the banner art for this game, it's something else. And now we're at the end of the release week, and we're wrapping things up with 8 titles releasing on Friday the 24th. The first of which is, oh, you have got to be kidding me! 5 weeks in a row now, and we've seen BoomBit Games release the exact same mobile driving game, and at first it was cute, and I think I even said the first title looked somewhat interesting, but ladies and gentlemen, we have our new Kairosoft. Because on July 24th, we see the same driving game we've seen for over a month now, this time called Detective Driver Miami Files. You drive a car from point A to point B, read some text, repeat. Sorry, BoomBit, but I think you're going on the list right next to Sabec and Kairosoft. Huh. Maybe we need like a Nindie no-no term for shovelware publishers as a whole. What do you think, huh? Want to be immortalized in Nindie Nation history? Leave your suggestions in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. If you're a fan of murder mysteries, well, we've got not 1, but 2 games releasing on July 24th to wet your whistle, depending on how you like your dish served. If you want something a little more cinematic with more interaction and puzzles, and you dig the retro pixel style, 2 Awesome Studio has got you covered with Rainswept for $8.99. This story follows Detective Stone on a murder case which seems to have played out in any other way other than how everyone thinks it did. Intriguing. If you prefer the anime art style and you want your activity outside of conversations to be made up of mostly exploring a crime scene, like the Phoenix Wright games, then Radaleka and Saki Visual has Jisei, the First Case HD, releasing the same day for only $5. There's this game, also on July 24th. This game it's called Need a Packet, and it's a game what you're hearing me say right now I tried writing this 3 times already. I've really got nothing for this game. I don't get it. It's called Need a Packet. It's pretty unsettling. It's from Sometimes You. It's $6, and here's what they have to say.
Try to survive standing at the checkout in the supermarket. Need a Packet is a horror simulator about supermarket cashier who is gradually losing her mind from routine work. She starts to feel that the cash register is turning into a medieval tower, while dragons and chimera are flying around and trying to kill Molly. Events take place on the background of a garbage crisis in the city. Grounds are rotting, recycling factories are overcrowded, water is poisoned, and citizens start to disappear in the local forests. Beep, 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 beep. That's what you'll hear in your head all day after playing Need a Packet? Go crazy.
I don't know why I got so weird when I wrote that. I blame the game. I kind of want to see someone play this game, and I'm actually kinda morbidly curious now. Dex is also a title that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. It released in 2016 on PS4 and PC from Dreadlocks and is releasing on the Switch for $19.99 by way of Cubic Games. The reviews are mostly, not good, but one of my favorite YouTube channels is Stop Skeletons from Fighting, and over there, good old Uncle Derek always says to let yourself enjoy the games that are, not great, because there's often something good to find in them, maybe even something special as well. And I mean, really, that's kind of why I do this whole Nindie thing. Dex looks like what happened when a small indie team said, okay, but hear me out, guys. Something like Cyberpunk 2077, or maybe The Outer Worlds, big, sprawling, futuristic RPG, but what if we did it all as a 2D side-scroller? There's branching conversation trees, upgrades galore, a couple of different types of action. I just have to assume that they ultimately couldn't bring it all together. Now, I'll still probably check out Dex because I really like the premise and the first impressions that it's giving me, but the reviews are pretty bad, so maybe hold off until we can share or learn a little bit more about this one. Colic is probably not the way you're supposed to pronounce this next game, but it is developed by Pazolab Studio, and I can't tell if their publisher is called Noob-O or Noob-Zero. For $3.99, you can check out another adorable and relaxing puzzle game that won't stress you out but is hard to master, or whatever they always say about this type of game. Looks cute. Jandusoft is back this week, and it's been a while since they've dropped something on the eShop. This week on the 24th, they released the 2D action platformer Max and the Book of Chaos. I looked into it, and it's not related to Max and the Curse of Brotherhood, which is an Xbox One launch title that has since come to everything, including the Switch. And that's a shame too, because that game was fun. And this Max looks like an $8 port of a free-to-play mobile game. And finally this week, we have Middleborg City of Mages by UTC Asterion and Armature Games. Middleborg sees you running a magical kingdom as Chancellor, and it looks to be mostly based on resource management and decision-making. Kind of like a narrative adventure, maybe? It has a roguelike element where new leaders take with them learnings from the rulers of the past, and you can check out Middleborg City of Mages for $8.99. Not bad. Okay, so who here is getting Carrion? What about Panzer Paladin? Any of you picking up, Epic Word Search Collection 2? Let me know in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. Now that we've looked back on the games we missed last week, and we've looked ahead to the games that we get to play this coming week, let's focus on the right here, right now. That's right, let's live in the present and consider the 692 games currently discounted over at the eShop, and then narrow down that list to just a few noteworthy titles worth your consideration. Here are our favorite Nindie deals for the week ending July 25th. Team 17 is one of the A-tier Nindie publishers, and they're having a big old blowout this week. Lots of great games too, most of them 70 to 90% off. Unfortunately, it doesn't include the awesome brand new Neon Abyss, but our favorites and their current prices include Raging Justice, a solid beat-em-up with a unique, almost claymation-like art style, which is $3.74. The Escapists 1 Complete is only $2.99, with the sequel being $5.99. And these games are about using your environment and your wits to escape prison, and it's a really refreshing approach to game design, just kinda overall. Check these games out if you haven't, at least the first one. They also have Yoku's Island Express, which is the Metroidvania game that plays like a pinball game. It's cute, it's very original, and while I personally got pretty bored with it after a while, I do think I'm in the minority. In any case, $6.79 is a great deal for it, and then there's Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, which is discounted down to only $14.69, which is its lowest price yet. And this game is just a banger. If you like platformers like the Donkey Kong Country series and you haven't played Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, now's the time to fix that. Blasphemous, the extremely grotesque but wildly acclaimed 2D Souls-like, is half off for only $12.49. And as long as you're down with the art style and you can appreciate a challenge, this game offers some of the best 16 or 32-bit style gameplay we've seen in a long time. Crypt of the Necro Dancer is such a wonderful game, and if you like any kind of electronic, dance, or industrial music, you should check it out. It is a rhythm game, but don't worry too much about having good rhythm because the game can work with you on that. This week it's only $3.99, which, while I have seen it drop to $2 like on Black Friday, $3.99 at 80% off is a killer deal. The Gunman Clive HD collection includes 2 hand-drawn Western action games that are about 2 hours long each and feature some remarkably paced gameplay and fantastic level design. Both of these games that I guess kinda play like a Mega Man game are half off for a total of $1.99, and that is exactly the kind of deal that you should jump on if you can't really decide what to play this week and just want something that will, help you kill a couple hours. Every time I get in any kind of discussion on Twitter around hidden gems for the Switch, Mike from Nindie Nexus just gushes about Avocado, a cute but seemingly deep platformer with a meaty campaign. I'm gonna buy it this week just to see what he's all up in arms about, because it's 90% off for only $1.29, and I mean, come on, how much lower can you expect it to go? Maybe we should all buy it and praise Mike for his wonderful taste in indies, or maybe we should shame him to oblivion if we don't like it. I'm kidding. Don't start Twitter beefs and get mad at people about video games. It's not worth it. Toki is the hand-drawn remake of a classic 16-bit platformer that a lot of people didn't play, which is why I'm really surprised that not only did it get a 2019 remake, but that it's also really good. At $2.98 or 90% off, if you're in the mood to monkey around as an ape for a solid half dozen hours, Toki's gonna be right up your alley. The Legend of Evil is an interesting one because it came and went with very little fanfare, maybe around summer 2018, but I picked it up and had a blast with it. It's a side-scrolling tower defense game where you're managing your own defense and offense, but then you're also acting as your own leader, taking down enemies in button-pressing active combat. I don't often do tower defense games, but every once in a while I get sucked into one, and that's exactly what happened with The Legend of Evil. It's also really dorky and pretty funny, with a story centered around evil villains who are really bad at being evil. It's not a huge discount, but I rarely ever see this one on sale, and $5.99 or 30% off is totally fair for what you're getting with The Legend of Evil. Think of the Children is another one of those, quote, it's not a really good game, but it's really funny, and hey, if you get a couple of play sessions out of it, that might be enough, end quote. It's hard to explain, but basically, you're a parent placed in any typical situation with your kids, except all of the children, as children do, are making every attempt possible to get themselves hurt, usually in really funny ways. And as the token adult, it is up to you to keep all of the kids safe. Think of the children as $2.59, which is an 85% discount, and I think that's also a perfectly fair price if you think you'll get at least a couple afternoons out of it. The Tourist was one of the bigger Nindies from last fall. With its voxel art style and general laid-back puzzle game vibe, The Tourist should be played by people who love the puzzles and dungeons specifically in a Zelda game. This is another one that doesn't really go on sale much, but again, 30% off for $13.99. I think you'll agree with me that the quality of what you're getting here is well worth the price of admission. Mabel and the Wood is a 2D action platformer that we've discussed a few times on this show, and it's just an awesome execution on a traditional premise. I'm sure we all have lists of the 2D retro-style games that we'd like to get through, and I'm really glad that I spent the time to get through this one. Mabel in the Wood is a whopping 80% off, which makes the price point of $3.74 a total no-brainer. Furwind is another 2D action platformer with a bit more focus on the locomotion and puzzle mechanics. If you like that part of your 2D games more than the action itself, pick up Furwind over Mabel, as they're both around the same price, with Furwind at 60% off for $3.99. And finally, if you're thinking to yourself, I love my 2D retro-style games, but neither of these sound up my alley, I'll ask you this. Do you like Mega Man? If so, check out Venture Kid, because it's short, it's solid, it understands the source material it's referencing, and for only 99 cents or 90% off, I think it's worth it for just about any Mega Man fan to at least take a chance on. What are you picking up this week? We've got a bunch of options, great new deals, 2 completely different picks of the week with a bunch of runners-up. You know the drill. I want to hear from you about your recent Nindie escapades, so let's chat in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. With each episode of Nindie Nation posting on Monday to podcast feeds and YouTube, don't forget there's more stuff on the Nindie Nation YouTube channel as well, including Let's Plays and later this week, a full review for Panzer Paladin. Not sure where I'm going to land on that final score, but it's going to be up there. In fact, that review is being worked on in tandem with the Nintendo Village, your home for everything Nintendo and the hosts of Nindie Nation. Come hang out with us for all of your indie gaming needs, and then hang out with Nintendo Village for their daily features, articles, reviews, and a bunch more great content that you can find all in one place at thenintendovillage.com. I mentioned earlier wanting your feedback on a potential new segment for Nindie Nation, and here are a few of the ideas. Every month, Nintendo releases a Big Nindies from the Past Month video right on the Switch News channel, and they're usually covering 5 big indie games from that month. Do you see any benefit in us recapping what Nintendo considers the biggest Nindies of the month, or not? What about looking at the weekly most downloaded charts? My thought here would be to read through the list, probably toss out the shovelware entries, and just take a couple of minutes to call out any games that are getting really special attention or might need a little more love. Or how about a segment appended to the deals section every week that focuses on one type of themed sale? I've kind of already started doing this week, highlighting the Team 17 sale, but there are publisher-wide deals like that constantly, so it could be used as a chance to spread a little more love into some of the lesser-known publishers. Consider this one the Publisher Spotlight. And lastly, is there any interest in a weekly section focused on the games that either you or I are playing already? This could be me running through what's been keeping my Joy-Cons synced over the past week, or it could be an opportunity to read comments from some of you. So what do you think? As a new segment, would you like to see Nintendo's Nindie picks for the month, top downloads from the week, publisher spotlights, or maybe a section dedicated to what's keeping your Joy-Cons synced? Let me know in all of the ways that you already know how, and if you like things the way they are, that's totally fine too. I know I already say this enough, but as far as I'm concerned, I probably never could say it enough. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Just 2 weeks ago, after running this channel for about 18 months, I was blown away to see us reach the 300 subscriber mark, and right now we're only 10 away from 400. And last week, the amount of views on the YouTube version of this podcast reached almost twice as high as the previous highest viewed episode. I'm just thrilled to see people like this content. Nindie Nation is a fun, creative hobby for me, and I just love chatting with other people about indie games on the Switch. The interactions with all of you and just seeing the support grow over time is more than enough. So once again, thank you. But enough of that. I've kept you too long, and you've got some Nindies to play. Already looking to next week, and the summer of killer Nindies continues, as we'll be discussing games like Nowhere Prophet, Lost Wing, and more, including Heroes of Hammerwatch, which is good because we barely had one last week, and we didn't have any so far this week. So just to squeeze one in for you, I'm looking forward to discussing Heroes of Hammerwatch next week, because at the very least, it is a top-down dungeon crawler with procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements. It just wouldn't feel right to have an episode without one, you know? But with that, citizens, we are indeed at the end of this week's episode, so thank you once again for hanging out this week, and until next week, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 74, and whether you're getting your fix as a whip-wielding chick in a mech suit or as a blob of guts consuming everything that lives, it's still really gross. Know that Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.